we don't have a problem of toxic masculinity. That's not something that we're facing. Out of the top 100 problems we're facing in the world today, toxic masculinity is not one of those 100 problems. What's up, everybody, and welcome back to the channel. Today we got a heated and highly anticipated video. Today we're doing part 3 of reacting to Jordan Peterson. Now, part 1 got, I don't know, I think like 3,000 views. Part 2 got something in the 1,000 range. Obviously, you guys are really interested in seeing me react to Mr. Jordan Peterson. A highly controversial figure, but today we're going to be taking a little compilation. Apparently, these are supposed to be like some really crazy, like some of Jordan Peterson's, most controversial moments. Now, I'm a 15-year-old. This is my YouTube channel. I want to say thank you to all the new subscribers recently. It's been awesome to see so many new people joining and supporting my channel. If you are new here, please consider going down, hitting that subscribe button. Maybe check out some more of my content, because you never know. Perhaps you will enjoy my channel, and perhaps you'll become a new subscriber just from this video. Please leave a comment letting me know your thoughts. And with all that being said, let's hop right into it.
What is the purpose precisely?
I am quoting things that you said.
Why? What is it that you're trying to establish?
Because you said them.
I thought we were talking about masculinity.
We are.
No, we're not.
Yes, we are.
How are we talking about masculinity?
Because I'm asking you what you think of men and of women.
Basically what you've been trying to do, I would say, for the last 15 minutes is put me into a sequence of corners by accusing me of various forms of misbehavior. So why are we doing that? What's the point here?
These are things that you said.
Love Jordan Peterson or hate Jordan Peterson, okay, you have to respect that he is willing to call out these interviewers when he believes that they're trying to take him off course. And this is a thing that is done by a lot of people when they don't like something that you're saying necessarily, is, they try to subliminally take you off course and try to get you into a trap. And of course, this guy interviewing Mr. Peterson has the final edit if this is going on his podcast or whatever. So as somebody of a public figure like Jordan Peterson is, you have to be very, very careful with the stuff that you say, because anything could be taken out of context and any question could lead you off of this, lead you off course of the topic. So whether you like Jordan Peterson or not, that's totally fine, but you have to admit and you have to respect that he's willing to stand up for himself when he believes that an interviewer is going off course and off topic.
My job as a journalist is to ask questions about what you represent and the ideas that you defend.
Your job is also to select the things that you might ask about in some manner that doesn't indicate a substantive bias. You picked 3 things to talk to me about in the last 20 minutes that were very carefully selected. Like, why did you pick those things?
Because this is my job.
Maybe you just think that women should be equally represented in the decision-making fora of our nation. Maybe that's really just about having proper equality in a body that's meant to be representative.
Well, I do believe that women should have... I don't understand your question, I guess.
I guess you don't. That's pretty obvious, unfortunately.
Well, how about if you phrase it more clearly, instead of just insulting me? Look at it this way. Let's talk about quotas for a minute. So there's a very wide array of jobs that are fundamentally done by men. So, for example,
Member of Parliament.
99...
I don't want to pause every 10 seconds, but I just want to point out again, I think it's so weird that they just have like these random, like, what does this have to do with the video? I'm not trying to criticize the person who made this video too much, but it should just be solely the Jordan Peterson clip. I don't know what this is all about.
99.9% of
Sorry, Alex, I'm going to
bricklayers...
stop sledging you now, I promise.
I'm happy to give my minute to Jordan.
99.9% of bricklayers are men. Should we have quotas for women?
Is bricklaying representative democracy?
That has nothing to do with the question. The question is if there's evidence of structural inequality and oppression because women aren't precisely represented at 50% in all professions at all levels, then why don't we have a conversation about having women represented in all professions at all levels?
Well,
why do we talk about the C-suite, for example? Why do we talk about politics and positions of power? Why don't we talk about it across the board?
Well, that's my idea of the patriarchy, which is a system of male dominance of society.
Yeah, but that's not my sense of the patriarchy.
So what's yours?
Well, in what sense is our society male-dominated?
The fact that the vast majority of wealth is owned by men, the vast majority of capital is owned by men. Women do more unpaid labor.
A very tiny proportion of men. And
this clip is also the last one I reacted to.
A huge proportion of people who are seriously disaffected are men. Most people in prison.
Yeah, like, I stated this in my last reaction, but I don't believe at all that men have it any better than women.
Are men. Most people who are on the street are men. Most victims of violent crime are men. Most people who commit suicide are men.
Yep.
Most people who die in wars are men. People who do worse in school are men. So where's the dominance here precisely? What you're doing is you're taking a tiny substrata of hyper successful men and using that to represent the entire structure of Western society. There's nothing about that that's vaguely appropriate.
But I could say equally well that most rape victims are women. You know, terrible things happen to people of both sexes.
And you could say that with perfect utility, but that doesn't provide any evidence for the existence of a male-dominated patriarchy.
Well,
it just means that terrible things happen to both genders, which they certainly do.
But there are almost no women who rape men, for example. So that is an asymmetry.
Well, that's not true. In fact, there actually is a lot of cases where women rape men.
There in sexual violence.
Well, yes, there's an asymmetry in all sorts of places, but that doesn't mean that Western culture is a male-dominated patriarchy.
I mean, of course, that's a lot less likely than men raping women, but it does happen. Yeah, you can't come out and say it doesn't happen. I mean, of course, the numbers are a lot lower, but, I mean, that's something that isn't really talked about that much is, yeah, I mean, women do rape men. That does happen. And I guess it kind of just puts the man in a bit of an awkward position, you know?
There are asymmetries has nothing to do with your basic argument.
Why do you feel that someone's personal gender identity and pronouns infringes your free speech? Can one not also argue, based on your interpretation, that professors can use racial slurs in their classroom and that the inability to do so would violate their freedom of speech?
There's a difference between saying that there's something you can't say and saying that there are things that you have to say. And I regard these made-up pronouns, all of them, as the neologisms of radical PC authoritarians. Do you understand that? And I'm not a fan of that sort of person. And the reason I'm not a fan of that sort of person is because I've done my homework. I've read everything I can get my hands on in the development of authoritarian political systems, and I know the literature inside out and backwards. And I am not going to be a mouthpiece for language that I detest.
Damn, savage Jordan Peterson. I mean, whether you agree with him or not, you gotta respect him. You just have to, okay? You could hate everything that he says, but I mean, there's got to be some level of respect there, you know?
We had that series of stuff.
Not everybody has the ability to just say this type of stuff publicly. Like, honestly, like, if you say this type of stuff, you're going to have a whole crowd of people coming after you. And Mr. Peterson's not afraid of that. He's not afraid of any type of backlash, so.
From you. Speaking clearly is one of your 12 rules. And I wonder why it is that in a situation like that and in many other situations, what actually happens is that you sow confusion.
I don't sow confusion. The journalists that interview me sow confusion.
Well,
the woman who wrote the New York Times
article. Why do you think that happens? That you get misinterpreted in your views so often?
With her it was absolutely clear. I spent 2 days with her and we spent 30 seconds talking about enforced monogamy, and she's a very smart woman and she knew exactly what I meant and chose to make that the centerpiece of the article for I would say, to attract attention in a way that was completely inappropriate.
But you know, it's not just a journalist from the New York Times. You know that this happens over and over and over.
That's because the journalists read each other's journalism, and they don't read the books, and they don't watch what I'm saying.
Never with you. The fault is.
Well, no, the fault is sometimes with me. I mean, it's not like I always say everything perfectly. But there's no, it's getting dull to read the journalistic accounts because they're just mirror images of everything that's been written over the last year and a half. And the same old things. There's 10 epithets that are generally thrown at me, every one that you can possibly think of. And people have gone over everything I've said to my students for the last 30 years, almost all of which is recorded, and found absolutely no evidence for any of that, even once.
I would say that there is a lot online of journalists actually trying to interview seriously, trying to get towards a proper understanding. And that, what you just said to me, is a very common thing you say. I've been over the evidence, there is no evidence anywhere.
It isn't just me that's been over the evidence, it's people that have been trying to take me out who've been over the evidence and have not been able to find any. I do stand by my original statement, though, that there's a brand of more radical feminism that insists that our culture is best characterized as an oppressive patriarchy, and I think that first of all, that that's an appalling sociological doctrine, and I think it has very negative psychological effects. And they won't be limited to men, because if it's true that there's something toxic, let's say, about masculinity per se, what that will inevitably mean is that as women adopt more masculine roles, traditionally, what is that toxicity somehow going to go away?
But that's a straw man, because no one says there's anything toxic about masculinity per se.
What do you mean no one?
Seriously? I mean, it's like a big thing now. Everybody's screaming, "Oh, toxic masculinity, blah 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 blah." That's not the problem. The problem is a lack of masculinity, actually. And the problem is so many men nowadays are becoming so feminized by the modern day society, by social media, by TikTok. That stuff weakens men and feminizes men. We don't have a problem of toxic masculinity. That's not something that we're facing. Out of the top 100 problems we're facing in the world today, toxic masculinity is not one of those 100 problems.
Says that. The term exists.
No, they.
How is that a straw man?
Well,
but where did the term come from?
It's a phrase that's used about forms of masculinity that are harmful to men and women. It's not about masculinity per se. You must know that.
I read the American Psychological Association guidelines for the treatment of boys and men, and I know perfectly well that this is no straw man.
All right, folks, we're going to end the video there. Pretty good little montage of Jordan Peterson. I saw comments on my last Jordan Peterson video asking me to actually kind of go into depth with the stuff that I agree with Mr. Peterson on. I agree with him on the issues of masculinity and not having enough masculine, strong men nowadays. And that's not me saying that I got anything against men who aren't strong and masculine, but I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of lack of ambition in men nowadays, and I don't know, just a lack of wanting to do things. There's so many men nowadays who just are fine sitting around, not really being productive. And he promotes, making your bed in the morning, working out, all that good stuff, being masculine. Now, this is not like a subject that I really know a ton about. It's not a subject that I'm really that qualified to speak on, but it's just something that I've heard Mr. Peterson talk about a lot, which I do agree with. Again, of course, I don't agree with everything he says, but there is some stuff that I do agree with. So I'm gonna leave it there, folks. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Maybe this is the first time that you've heard about me. Just have a look through my channel, watch some more of my content, and I don't know. You never know. Maybe you'll love it. Maybe you'll become a new subscriber. Hit that like button, share this video, show this to your son, to your daughter, or if you are a son or a daughter, send this to your parents. I don't know. Just share it out there like crazy. Thank you guys for watching. Take care, and I'll see you guys in the next one.